Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Sexton. I hope everybody had a blessed Christmas and holiday. And we're going to get started today on our daily video for day 8 of the semester, December 26th. Today, we are going to be dealing with Chapter 6, which deals with public opinion, what it is, how we measure it, and is it significant. So before we get into the chapter, make sure you realize that over the next couple of days, you're going to have another assignment dealing with elected officials. You completed the how many senators do I have assignment last week, and this week you're going to be completing something known as the elected officials preparation assignment. I'm going to be posting that probably tomorrow, maybe Friday. And you'll need to make sure you get that done. And remember, when you're doing the elected officials preparation assignment, make sure that you are to define the answers for that assignment that deal with your home state. And the way I define home state is if there was an election today, where would you vote? Would you vote here in Missouri? Then you use Missouri as your home state. If you were to vote today in another state, either in person or by absentee ballot, then I want you to use that state as your home state. But please, as with the how many senators do I have assignment, please make sure that you're doing more than just finding the answers to those questions. Take a look at the assignment as a whole and understand what I'm trying to get across there. I'm trying to demonstrate to you that each state, while they seem to be created the same, with the same branches of government and the same types of institutions, each state is slightly different in how they create it. Each state has a state senate and a state house of representatives, for example. But the state of Missouri has more people in their state senate than do other states. So each state is slightly different, and that's kind of what I want you to get out of this assignment that's going to be posted in the next day or two. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and get started with Chapter 6, dealing with polls and public opinion. And the things that you need to pull out of this chapter include, obviously, the definition for public opinion. Now, I need you to understand what public opinion is, but also need you to understand that as the chapter presents it, public opinion is really made up of two different things. It's made up of those individual things, like your individual opinion, your individual attitudes. And then we take those individual attitudes and opinions and we add them together, or what we say, aggregate them together, and that gives us the public opinion. So make sure you understand that public opinion is how everybody or how lots of people feel about an issue, but it is made up of a group of individuals that have their own opinions and ideas about those issues. So make sure you understand the difference between the individual aspects of public opinion and then what public opinion is as a whole. Okay? Focusing in on the individual aspect of it. Make sure you can distinguish the difference between values and beliefs and attitudes and opinions. They're similar, but they are different. So make sure you understand those things. Also, make sure you understand the difference between a value, an opinion, and an ideology. Make sure you understand that concept of ideology, because a lot of people think, well, just because I'm in favor of this idea, which is a conservative idea, I'm an ideologue or I'm a conservative. That's not the case. An ideology, as you're reading the chapter, make sure you pull out of there the idea that an ideology is a comprehensive, consistent set of values, beliefs, and opinions that you use when deciding whether the government should or shouldn't be doing something. So make sure you understand that an ideology is those adjectives that I use: consistent, well thought out beliefs that you use over and over to make decisions. Okay? Also, as we go through, make sure you understand specifically what the political values that Americans have are. As you look at the chapter, you'll notice that the chapter says most Americans have some core values or core political values that they agree are core political values. Some of those that they talk about are liberty, equality, and democracy. But more than knowing that those are the three core values or political values that your textbook talks about, make sure you understand that just because you and I both say we believe in liberty doesn't mean we believe in the same thing. Because many Americans will tell you, oh yes, I believe in liberty, but when you ask them to define liberty, then they have different beliefs on what liberty means. So as we're looking at the public opinion of Americans, understand, as the chapter is telling you, yes, we have these common core values that we will raise our hand and say, yes, we believe in liberty, we believe in democracy, and we believe in equality. Make sure you understand that we have different opinions on what those key values mean. In particular, when we look at liberty, we're talking about liberty from government. Now, do we all believe that the government shouldn't do anything to us? Shouldn't have any authority over us? No. Different people believe government should be involved in certain things, not in other things. We all believe in equality, but equality doesn't mean that everybody should have the same pay for their job. It doesn't mean that every person should live in the exact equal type of house. Equality has several different meanings. Make sure you take a look in the textbook where it talks about equality of opportunity. Okay. And then, of course, the third idea or the third value the textbook's going to talk to you about is democracy. And make sure you understand what we mean by democracy. We as Americans have different definitions of what democracy means. Some people look at the Constitution and the founding documents and say, well, democracy is simple. It's majority rule. Then there are other people who look at democracy and say, no, democracy is based on protecting the rights of the minority. So make sure you understand the different explanations and different interpretations of democracy as they were discussed in the textbook. Okay? And then another thing I want you to take out of the chapter dealing with public opinion is, where do we get our opinions and our values and our beliefs? Because as some of you who maybe have taken psychology or sociology classes are probably familiar with this concept known as tabula rasa. We're born as creatures as a blank slate. We don't have any beliefs or values or opinions. How do we get those values or opinions? And that process, as the textbook talks about it, is called political socialization. Make sure you understand the concept of political socialization. And just as important in reading the textbook, make sure you pull out the agents that impact our socialization, such as your family, your community, your religion, all of those different things, the media. All of those things will impact what your beliefs and values are. So make sure you understand what agents of socialization are. And finally, on that point, make sure you understand, based on textbook reading, which are the most significant of these aspects of socialization. Which ones have the greatest impact on what your beliefs and values and opinions are. Okay? And then the next thing that we're going to want to look at in here is the idea of ideologies. What an ideology is. I talked a little bit about it before, but understand that in the United States there are different ideologies. I believe your textbook talks about 4 of them: conservative, liberal, libertarian, and socialist. Make sure you understand those 4 ideologies as explained by the textbook. And to really understand those 4 ideologies, you need to make sure that you understand the concept that's briefly talked about in the textbook called classic liberalism. There's a difference between what we call the modern liberal here in America, and then the idea of classic liberalism. Make sure you understand classic liberalism and the fact that it is the basis for most ideologies in this country. So understand classic liberalism, and then after you understand classic liberalism, make sure you understand what makes a person a liberal, what makes a person a conservative, what makes a person a libertarian, or what makes a person a socialist. And then the final part of the chapter that you need to get into is the part of the chapter about measuring public opinion. Most of us, as seen on TV or read in magazine articles or newspaper articles, or even seen on the internet, polls that will say, 58% of the American population favors this, or 38% of the American population are opposed to this. That's polling, or that's public opinion polling, finding out how Americans feel about certain issues. The last part of the chapter is going to talk about how we measure that through polls. There's going to be some discussion in the textbook that you need to understand about the scientific process known as polling. Make sure you understand things like population versus sample. Make sure you understand the process of sampling. How do we get a good sample? What makes a sample good or bad? And then we need to look at and read the section of the textbook that talks about problems with polls. Anybody who followed the last presidential election knows that polls are sometimes wrong. Everybody went into the poll in 2016, or going to the election of 2016, expecting Trump to lose handily to Hillary Clinton. But as we've seen at the end of the night, at the end of the day, Trump wound up winning. Even though all the polls said he was going to lose, it turned out that he won. So make sure you read that section of the textbook and pull out the problems that we run into with polls. Things like sampling error, bias in asking questions, and all of those problems that can cause a poll to appear to be legitimate, but in fact, the results are not very accurate. Okay? So that covers what we're going to need to worry about in the chapter this day. And if you have any questions, as I've said in the past, make sure you call me. I'm also in the process, as soon as I get done posting this video, I'm in the process of finishing up the grading of your exams. And hopefully by the time you listen to this video, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow evening, your grade for exam 1 will be posted. Okay? Good luck, and make sure you call me if you have any questions. And realize I'm still on the road, so if you need to talk to me or have any questions for me, you need to call me on my phone as opposed to sending me an email. Okay? Have a great day, and good luck.